Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Слава нації!
Смерть ворогам!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Ще не вмерла України і слава і воля, ще нам, браття українці, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші воріженьки, як роса на сонці, запануєм і ми, браття, у своїй сторонці, душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Слава нації!
Смерть ворогам!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Нашим захисникам тричі!
Слава! Слава! Слава!
Good afternoon, my friends, and thank you for coming to our rally. Today we have a lot of speeches to give, a lot of presentations to show. For our message of the Ukrainian people that we have to send today. Today, we have gathered to draw attention to the most pressing issue. The fact that there are Ukrainian captives. We draw attention to their fate. This issue is painful, complex, and requires our immediate attention and action. Ukraine is facing an extraordinarily dire situation, where thousands of people, including innocent children, have become hostages of war. Due to the actions of the Russian Federation, these innocent souls were illegally deported, torn apart from their families, and left without any communication. Today, we must remember them and work to restore their childhood and family warmth. However, this problem includes not only children, but also adult citizens, civilians, and military captives who have been in a terrible captivity for 2 years now. Their fate is far from peace and freedom. They have become hostages of war, conducted without rules and with maximum violations of international norms, torture, poor conditions of detention, human rights violations. This is only a part of the terrible nightmare that our compatriots are facing. But we cannot leave them at the mercy of fate. We are obliged to fight for their freedom and protect their rights. We must voice our anger and outrage at the actions of the Russians. We need to demand immediate reaction and intervention from our governments and international organizations. We must influence the course of the world history to prevent another genocide of a peaceful people. So today, we stand together, united in the desire to bring about change. We stand for truth, justice, and humanity. Let every step we take, every word we speak, be a step towards the liberation and restoration of dignity. for those who suffer from this terrible war. Imagine not seeing the sun for 2 years, not knowing what's happening with your loved ones, living in constant agony and dwindling hope with each passing day. Brave soldiers endured the hell on earth for the second year. However, some people still don't know about this. Therefore, this call is to everyone who cares about human life, human freedom, and rights to join the support of Ukrainian captives. Russian prisons are killing people. Let's save the lives of captive Ukrainians together. Freedom for the captives. Freedom for the captives.
Freedom for the captives!
Freedom for the captives.
Freedom for the captives!
Freedom for the captives.
Freedom for the captives!
Free Azov-style defenders.
Free Azov-style defenders!
Free Azov-style defenders.
Free Azov-style defenders!
Free Azov-style defenders.
Free Azov-style defenders!
My friends, sometimes things like captivity and violations of human rights can sound like an alien concept. Sometimes they can sound like something far away that will never touch us, that will never influence our lives. However, we must remember, my friends, that Europe is a small continent and the world is more global than ever before. Nowadays, the butterfly effect is in full swing. Something that happens on the other side of the world influences us deeply. And not only that, Ukraine, as the country that has given up the most to achieve world peace, is now suffering because of the inaction of those who have promised to help. When the Ukrainians were ready to give up the third biggest arsenal in the world, nuclear arsenal, people were happy. People were in jubilation. They supported it because people want peace. And yet now that Ukraine has left itself defenseless, that Ukraine, hoping for world peace, hoping to do their part to improve this world, has left themselves weakened without nuclear weapons. Now we hear individuals preach and prance about how helping Ukraine will not help anybody, how Ukraine is corrupt. Well, my friends, people are suffering now and people will continue to suffer unless we find a way out of this situation. And this suffering is not restricted to Ukraine. This suffering could spill very quickly to the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. The Russians at the moment are afraid of attacking NATO countries. But if Ukraine falls, if the West is shaking in their boots, unable to act, then Russia will feel empowered to violate any treaty, to violate any kind of union amongst European peoples or amongst the free world. They will not feel like there will be consequences for their actions. And they would be right. That is the painful part, my friends. As the saying goes, the worst thing about betrayal is that it never comes from the enemy. We must not betray the vote of confidence of the Ukrainian people who have given up the most to achieve world peace, who are now suffering in captivity by the Russian terrorist regime that does not respect human rights, does not even know what those rights are. We have seen what they have done with the individuals who perpetrated the terror attack in Moscow. Now, we have condemned the terror attack and we continue to do so. However, to cut off the ear of an individual and force him to eat it, to strap electrical wires to a man's genitals and to torture him, is a violation of human rights. When a Wagner soldier was captured by the Ukrainian troops and then returned, the Russians have executed him on video with a hammer to the skull. The Russian terrorist regime is not even attempting to hide their war crimes. They are proud of them. And this pride comes from a lack of responsibility. A responsibility that can be brought to them if the world stands united. A responsibility that can be brought to them if we choose action and we do not linger on appeasement tactics with individuals who would be happy to capture us and torture us to death. We can't negotiate with those who are coming to kill you. You cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth, as Churchill said. And we have a whole bunch of Chamberlain-like politicians preaching for peace with a regime that has violated peace agreements at every single occasion. It might be difficult to imagine, but there are many people who are getting tortured right now. What the Russian terrorist regime did in America, for example, when they blew up a prison full of Azov-style defenders, of heroes of Ukraine, because they had tortured them, they had mutilated them, and they wanted to hide the evidence of that torture, of that mutilation. We cannot negotiate with individuals like that. There need to be consequences. And the world needs to wake up. World, wake up!
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 Russia is a terrorist state!
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 All together, we will win!
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 We have many messages today, my friends. Some of them come from the individuals who have been captured. Dad, I do not want to be growing up without you. Russia must release you. Son, will we live to see you again from Russian captivity? My beloved, I can't live without you. My soul is in captivity with you. My friends, this is a good country to live in. We are living a good quality of life with freedom, with enough food to eat, unafraid that the next moment in our lives a shell is going to crash into our ceiling and kill every single person in the room. However, we have to remember that this country too was at war many times in the past. During the Blitz, during the Battle of Britain, when the British people, for a long time, mind you, were alone standing against the Nazi regime. And Chamberlain politicians were not listened back then. That is why this country endured. That is how this country kept its freedom and its future from falling to butchers, to genociders, to psychopaths. Now, my friends, it's time to remember those days. Because this is the moment to act. When this war can be ended in Ukraine, the people who have died cannot be brought back. The people who have been tortured will not return their peace of mind. However, we can prevent more people from suffering. We can end this war now, while it's in a different country, not here in the UK. So for all the people who claim that this war doesn't matter, that this is something else on the other corner of the world, I remind you, my friends, that Poland is not much further, is not much closer to this country than Ukraine. And when Danzig was invaded, the United Kingdom declared war against Germany, and rightfully so. It is time to declare Russia as a terrorist regime. It is time to say, we're not trying to make Ukraine survive, but we are helping Ukraine win. That is the message that is going to change the world. That is the message that the Russian terrorist regime needs to hear. Not these messages that are coming these days from the United States about Ukrainians not being able to attack the Russian oil depots. It's very interesting. We can see pictures of Allied forces attacking oil depots of Nazi Germans during World War II. Nobody was shouting war crimes back then. Nobody was saying that's a violation of human rights, because it's not. I'm sorry, my friends, but oil depots are not civilian targets. The Russians are using those oil depots to fuel their tanks, to fuel their armored vehicles. They're using that to fuel their war machine. And they will continue to use those oil depots for as long as they are not stopped. Ukrainians are doing what they can. Because the promises, thank you very much, the promises of shells coming to Ukraine are not being kept yet. We remind you, my friends, that people are in captivity, that people are suffering. The worst kind of suffering possible. When the people who are torturing them knew what they are doing, they know exactly how to inflict pain on a human being. They know exactly how to keep them alive in excruciating pain. For no other reason but to feel pleasure with that. What kind of information would a random Ukrainian civilian know? Or an average Ukrainian soldier? Would they really have the state secrets in their hands? No. But the Russian terrorist regime is a genocidal entity, a psychopathic entity. They kill civilians to scare the rest of the people. They torture captives to scare the soldiers. They execute their own captives, the ones captured by the Ukrainians and returned to Russia, to scare their own soldiers, so that they will fight to the death and die for the great Khan, Putin. That is their worldview, my friends. Unfortunately, it seems like some people have forgotten that sometimes some individuals can be irredeemable. People always look for something good, for goodness in everyone. But there are some times, my friends, when we don't have to look for goodness. There are some times when we have to look for victory. That is what the United Kingdom looked at during World War II. That is what the whole free world needs to look at now. To free the captives. And to make sure that no more have to suffer. To help Ukraine win this war once and for all. Because this war could have been over long ago, my friends. This war could have been over in a few months. If only Ukraine got what it needed to achieve that victory. But we can achieve it yet still. And all we need is the promises of the past to be kept. Arm Ukraine as you promised.
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 Fighter jets for Ukraine.
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 Air defense 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 for Ukraine.
Now, my friends, I would like to give word to one of our main organizers of our events, to Natalia Ravlyuk. Oh no, sorry, it's going to be Anya for now. Natalia is going to be later though. There you go, Anya.
Thank you